Hello everyone, and this is the Santa Clara County, California real estate market analysis for January of 2009. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I am a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro, and I am also the president of the company sponsoring this presentation, Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services. So let's go ahead and jump right into all of the data for Santa Clara County for January of 2009. Now, the first thing we'll look at is the supply and demand numbers. And we're going to go ahead and start with the solds here. We can see we're actually doing better than we were doing at the same time last year. You can see that in January of 2008, sales were actually quite a bit lower. We actually had a 69.14% increase in the sales from January of 2008 to January of 2009. That gave us 233 more homes sold this year than last year, which is excellent news. It gave us a grand total of 570 homes sold. How is that faring given just markets in past years? Well, not fantastic. I mean, given that 2001 was when we had the big tech bubble burst, you can see we're right about on par with that as far as sales are concerned, but we are suffering from a much larger inventory, which is having a dramatic effect on our marketplace, and also the kinds of homes that are in that inventory are very different, and we'll be covering that in a few minutes. Now, the next number we want to look at is how many listings have been added to the market in the month of January of 2009. You can see on the chart here that has actually gone down from the same time last year, only a very small amount. It was a decrease of 2.21%. That's 36 fewer homes listed in January of 2009 than January of 2008. That gave us a grand total of 1,593 homes listed in the month of January of 2009. That's about on par, as I said, with last year, but that's up from 2007. We've actually seen pretty high listing numbers. To get these kinds of high listing numbers, we'll see basically that high listing numbers have been pretty much a standard going all the way back to 2001, 2002 timeframe. So the amount of homes being added to the market has been relatively flat. The last time we saw lower numbers was way back in 1999 and 2000. Now, as far as the inventory number is concerned, that is up from last year. It's increased 5.04%. That comes out to 230 more homes on the market in January of 2009 than at the same time last year. That gives us a grand total of 4,793 homes currently on the market in Santa Clara County, and that is a staggering number. And as you can see, going all the way back 10 years, that's the highest we've ever had. And like I usually like to do, let's go ahead and sort of equate this into how many months worth of inventory do we have. And assuming that the sales numbers stayed right where they are at January 2009 levels, it would take us 8.5 months to sell off all of the inventory. That's not a good thing. It also lets us know for sellers that for every home that sells, there are about 8 homes on the market. But what's a little bit worse is that we've actually seen this number This number has gotten worse even when compared just to last month. Last month in December of 2008, this number stood at 6.85, and here in January of 2009, we're actually in a worse position with that number standing at 8.14. Now let's go ahead and take a look at supply and demand over past months. Now this is not just the month of January. This is going all the way back to October of 2007. You'll also note here I've got some lines giving us some general idea of the trends of these lines. That's to give you an idea of sort of the overall direction things are heading, because I know it's tough to sort of try and visualize what the average change is. You can see that actually sales have been relatively flat for the past few months, pretty much since October, September, all the way through there. We've seen some steady decreases, but since November, things have actually been pretty flat right up and through January. If we look to last year, we're actually doing better as trends go. We had some higher sales this year than last year, but last year we actually saw things pretty much steadily decreasing from October. And while we've seen that, we had a bit of a recovery in December that has sort of held on. We've still seen a decrease from December, but we've had sort of a general trend of increase. You can see the general trend bar that's being drawn there on the graph is showing a general trend up, which is good. And the general trend for listed homes per month has actually shown a little bit of a decrease. So that's good news as well. The fewer homes that get added to the market on a month-to-month basis, the better that's going to be for our overall inventory, and we really need to get control of those numbers. Now, if we look at the inventory numbers, we can see that over the last few months we had some declining inventory numbers, and then we got a little bit of a booster in January. Now, that's relatively normal as we enter November and December. In a typical market, what you'll find is that inventory numbers will go down for November and December, and then we'll see a bit of a jump in January as we go into the holiday season and then come out of it and people start relisting their homes. We saw the same trend last year. We actually had a little bit more of a pronounced change last year between December and January. I think that's because we simply have more people this time around that had no choice but to leave their homes on the market. So there were fewer homes leaving the market and then coming back onto it. I think the situation has gotten so dire for some folks, or the situation with the sale of the home. For instance, foreclosure homes aren't going to go off the market in the holiday season since those tend to be vacant. In fact, they're always vacant if they're already foreclosed on. So none of those would actually get taken off of the market. And as you'll see here in a few minutes, foreclosures are making up a big part of our market right now. If we just break down the numbers between December and January, we had sales decrease of 15.81%. That was 107 fewer homes sold in January of 2009 than December of 2008. As far as the number of homes listed, that actually increased in January, which would be expected. We had 50.28% increase in the number of homes listed in the month of January than December, and that gave us an overall increase of 533 homes. The overall inventory increased between December and January by 3.3%. That was 153 more homes on the market in January than in December. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the short sales and foreclosure numbers that I've started adding to this report, just because it really is a staggering piece of information. Now, in the past, we've seen I've only been doing this particular part of the report now for a couple of months. And last month, I believe we stood at about 60%. Well, this month, the number has gotten worse. You can see short sales made up about 15% of the total homes that were sold. Foreclosures made up 56% of the homes sold in Santa Clara County in January of 2009. I had to check that number twice because it was just so much larger than in previous months. And, of course, conventional sales only comprised 29%. So basically nearly 70%, or excuse me, just a little over 70% of all of the homes that sold in Santa Clara County were either short sales or foreclosures. That's actually a 10%, ballpark 10% increase from what we just saw in December. So that's a pretty staggering statistic to realize that the vast majority of the business that's going on in Santa Clara County right now are foreclosures and short sales. Now, I would advise anyone who doesn't listen to my podcast, and that's fine. If you don't want to hear me talk every week, I can understand that. I don't like hearing myself talk every week much myself. But if you want to get some good inside information on short sales and how the real estate industry is really falling short of the mark here in Santa Clara County, go ahead and take a listen to that. If you or anyone you know is considering the possibility of having to do a short sale on your home, I would suggest that you either give me a call to discuss this topic or go ahead and check my last podcast. I'll also be writing an article in the next couple of days about this subject. This is one area where you can't afford to have an agent who doesn't know what they're doing, and by and large, it seems agents don't know what they're doing. They're not listing the homes correctly. They are making it more difficult to get these homes sold. And I think that any seller who finds himself in this situation needs good information, and I'm happy to provide that for you. Now, if we move on to the next category, that's home prices. We'll go ahead and see probably a very shocking number to a lot of folks. But remember, these numbers only reflect these numbers only reflect properties that have actually sold. So this isn't data relating to all the homes that are out there listed in the inventory. This is specifically aiming just at properties that have closed escrow and been sold. Given the statistics we just looked at, where 70% of the homes out there that are selling are short sales or foreclosures, I think it's natural that we see such a dramatic drop in the average price of homes that are being sold. We're seeing properties that are selling way down at the low end, some all across the county, and you'll see what the lowest, we'll be covering in a second here, what the lowest price property was. So that's where all the attention is focused. A lot of buyers are really just focusing all their interest on foreclosures and short sales, where the perception is that the lowest prices can be had, the greatest bargains can be had. And as I've said before, I think buyers are selling the market short when they're not also considering conventionally sold properties. There's a lot of folks out there who have got amazing deals on their properties, and you're still able to get a great deal even though it's not a foreclosure or short sale property. Okay, so the average sales price in Santa Clara County for January of 2009 was $561,711. That is a 44.12% decrease from the same time last year. That is a dollar change of $443,542. To come back to a comparable, how far back in time would you have to go to see prices at that level on average? Well, you'd have to go somewhere between 1999 and 2000. 2000 was just a little bit higher. 1999 was quite a bit lower. It's a pretty shocking place to be. I know I purchased my home right around that time, so it's a shock, I think, for a lot of folks who have their home as their obviously the single most substantial investment of their lives, suffering under these kinds of circumstances. But bear in mind, this is not the real number. We're still seeing conventional homes that are being sold far above this amount. It's just that the vast majority of homes that are getting sold, and as I just talked about, only 29% of the homes that are getting sold out there are conventional homes. So that's why this number is so low. Now, the highest priced home that sold in Santa Clara County was in Los Altos Hills. No big surprise there. That was on 12121 Oak Park Court, and that home sold for $3,900,000. It was originally listed for $4,850,000. Took 122 days for that property to get sold. So at least folks at the high end can draw some comfort that homes are selling at the high end. It is taking a while, at least it did for that home. Now, the lowest priced home was on 1466 Mount Palomar Drive in San Jose. That property sold for $125,000. List price was $122,500. Clearly multiple listings multiple offers on that property since it sold for more than asking price. Sold in only 20 days. Some important things to note about that property. It was a land-only purchase, really. The property, the home that had been built on that land had been burned in a fire. So it was basically you'd destroy all the structures that were there and start over from ground zero. So basically a land-only deal, $122,500. Was its original list. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at these numbers going back, just looking straight back month to month now. You can see it's there we go. Sorry about that. You can see that it's been a steady decrease in the amount of that we've seen on home prices here. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, a little confusion here in the presentation process. As you can see, it's been a steady decline from going all the way back to October of 2007. It just every month, like clockwork, a steady decline up until December when we had a little bit of an artificial bump. Not real sure what the bump was there. We have enough volume of properties that are selling in Santa Clara County that you don't usually see one or two properties pushing things up artificially like that. Now, the average sales price, again, was $561,711 in Santa Clara County. Now, last month, the change from month to month is down 14.61%. That's a dollar change of $96,131. You know, where does this tell this? Is there anything we can get from this? Well, you know what? The trend is obvious. I don't think that's a mystery to anyone. Do I think we're going to see this flattening anytime soon? Well, I think we may see the rate at which it drops decline. In other words, we can see things sort of started to speed up its decline right after the summer season, right around July and August, and then right there in September, we saw things take a much bigger drop. I think what we will probably see is this number will flatten out a little bit over the coming months. We might get a little bit of a bump in the summer, but we sure didn't get a bump last summer. So my feeling, given the way things are right now, given what's going on in Washington with the various spending policies that we're seeing, I don't see a lot of confidence being built in the marketplace, specifically as real estate is concerned. To be honest with you, I think we'll see things flatten out a little bit. We won't see as dramatic a decrease, but I think we will see continuing decreases going on into the future. I wouldn't look for getting, and I hate to have to say this, but I think for sellers out there, while summer would normally be the time you'd want to wait to get the best possible price for your property, I don't see any reason to believe that that's going to happen. There are some smaller communities within Santa Clara County where some of these market forces are taking effect, where you can expect a bit of a boost in price on your property in the summer months. But for Santa Clara County in general, I don't think anyone – I think if you need to get your home sold, get it on the market now, regardless of season. I don't think you're going to look at a big boost in July for getting those properties sold. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the days on market. As you can see, steady increases since 2005. No big mysteries there. It's actually increased from 2008 to 2009. It's increased by 22.99%. That's a 20-day increase from January of 2008 to January of 2009. And again, these are solid numbers, very big samples of data here. So that's a realistic number to expect to have to wait that long, about 101 days to get your home sold. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the same numbers in recent months. This is going back all the way to September of 2007, and you can see that it's been it was fairly flat and steady through most of 2008, and then we saw a big bump in the winter months, which we saw last year in 2008, January of 2008, which is normal. So what would we expect? Well, you know, if we were in a normal market where normal things were happening, I would expect that we would see sort of a peak here. I think what we'll see probably is a longer peak. We have so many homes on the market, and so many folks are really getting into the foreclosure and short sale thing that whenever homes do sell, if we see a boost in sales, and we may, it's likely to suddenly sell homes that have been on the market for an extremely long time. So we may see these days on market continue to stay high. Do I see it going a whole lot higher than it is now? No. I think we may just see this sort of plateauing out a little bit, but I think we'll see it probably peaking here in January. But you notice if you look at the dip in after January of 2008, that's a pretty good dip, pretty definable. What I think we'll see next year is less of a dip from January to February, and then I think it'll flatten out a little bit more mildly. We won't see the obvious curve. I think it'll look a lot more flat going through the summer months. So not great news. From December to January, it was actually a 16.3% increase in days on market. With that comes out to 15 more days to get a home sold. Now, I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say on these market reports. If you'd like to look at any of my other market presentations or listen to my weekly podcast or read any of the articles I've written relating to real estate, you can find all of those at my website at www.soldbyrobert.com. If you'd like to get in contact with me via email, feel free to do so at robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you would like to give me a phone call and discuss anything relating to real estate or your needs, please feel free to dial 408-852-0525. And if you prefer to chat online, you can find me using AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, and Yahoo IM at the screen name The Rebel Broker. And on Skype, use the screen name Rebel Broker to get in touch. And finally, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate in Santa Clara County, I would be happy to help you. This is a great time for buyers to come out and start taking advantage of some of the deals that we have currently running. And I can be happy to help you with anything relating to that. And of course, if you are anywhere else in the United States and you're looking for a good real estate agent, give me a call. Let me know what your needs are, and I will find the perfect agent for you right in your local market. So feel free to give me a call or get in contact with any of the ways I've spelled out here if you need an agent anywhere in the United States. Thanks again, and I look forward to talking to you all next time.